Yeah, Maria, please.
Yeah, let's take one question here just to, because the presentation is relatively long, so we can take the first question at this point and then see if there are other questions. People are typing quickly now, so we see new questions coming. So, Patricia, if you can answer the question one, what are the disaster risk reduction, adaptation, as well as resilience strategies, the most important ones for irrigation under extreme weather events such as floods? Thanks. Patricia, just feel free to unmute your microphone. I'm going to do it.
I'm going to do that. Yes. Thanks.
Yes, feel free to answer the
question. Can you hear me well? Okay. So when it comes to extreme weather events, such floods or drought, what FAO and other international organizations are promoting is to move from a reactive perspective to a more proactive, more preparedness strategy. So there are basically three main areas of actions to reduce the risk and to mitigate the impacts of natural disasters. The first one is to count on monitoring and forecasting and early warning systems to provide information to farmers on the events, on the natural disasters events. It's also very important, as I mentioned in my presentation, to have good impact and vulnerability assessment. It's important to determine who is going to be affected, in what way, what will be the impacts, and why there is this vulnerability to extreme events. And there, of course, there are all the adaptation and mitigation measures, such as is very important, and I think that's been raised during the discussion to align water and soil management practices. It's not only about water, but it's also about soil health, because, as you know, soil is a big water reservoir. So we need to ensure that management practices improve the soil water rotation characteristics. When it comes also to adaptation and mitigation measures, it's also important to count on infrastructure, of course. In the case of floods, where you can build drainage systems or a sort of protection infrastructure to protect your irrigation infrastructure. Even though sometimes, even if we have all these measures, the effects of natural disasters cannot be avoided, and in this case, you need to count on social protection and measures, and such as crop insurance, for instance. I think another thing that has been raised during the discussion, and it's particularly important, is the cross-sectoral collaboration among different ministers. When it comes to natural disasters, we need to consider working with the Ministry of Agriculture, with the Ministry of Meteorology and Hydrology, with the Minister of Finance, Health. This is really key to have a joint programming to have a more proactive, let's say, reaction to extreme events.
Okay, thank you very much, Patricia. We have another question from Agosu. He is asking, how can irrigation help dry areas such as sub-Saharan Africa to feed its population in the coming decade?
Yeah, but I couldn't hear the question. Can you repeat it or write it in the
Yes, of course. So it's the second question. Let me mute you for a second, Patricia. Okay. The second question from Agosu. He asks, how can irrigation help dry areas such as sub-Saharan Africa to feed its population in the coming decades?
Okay, thank you. So as you could see in the irrigation map that I showed in the presentation, sub-Saharan Africa is the continent that has less developed irrigation because it only uses 6% of the available water resources for irrigation. So there is a huge potential for the development of irrigation. When we talk to dry areas, well, we need to consider if there is very low precipitation, if there are groundwater resources that can be sustainably being used. In sub-Saharan Africa, there are very good experience with water harvesting infrastructure and also practices. And I think these local practices that can be improved are really a very climate smart way to improve food production for local populations.
Okay, Patricia, thank you very much. Then I suggest that we continue with the second part of your presentation. Please go ahead.